We're live. Cool. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Skylar over at Culture Shock, clothing, records, and gifts in Rockford, Illinois. We are setting up for a vinyl happy hour right now. This is episode 24. We're hitting you every Thursday with these. Again, we're doing these videos because we want to kind of let you know some new releases, special releases, some choice used records, and we're showing off some holy grails just to kind of keep you updated. New releases come out every Friday, and we're adding records to the store every Friday as well. And we have all sorts of other great items and locally made items in the store. So we just want to feature a few records every week. And it's vinyl happy hour, so of course we're having a little drink also. I'll just get started right now. It's been a harsh week here. We've had 20, 30 below degree weather happening and stuff like that. You know, I usually am drinking a whiskey or a bourbon or something like that, but I went with something totally different tonight. I actually snuck into a Christmas gift that I got for Lauren. It's a tradition kind of for her family, especially at Christmas and stuff, to have a glug. I don't know if you've ever had that, but it's like a really tasty wine with a little bit of, I don't know, nutmeggy spice and sometimes some brandy mixed in with it, and it's heated up. They'll even put chunks of fruit and things like that in it. But that's too much. That's too much for me to make. I know it's cold out, so I just microwaved a mug of this. We picked this up at our local liquor store, Vin Glogg, a winter wine. So this glug is got a little cinnamon in it, some cloves, a little bit of lemon and orange in it also. So it's like a really kind of a sweet red wine. But you know me, that's not just enough, so we had to sneak a little extra in, and we did put a little bit of bourbon in ours as well. So, and it's all warmed up on this nice cold night. Cheers. That's good. Lauren, I've got this stolen mug from Lauren. That's Cheers. Lauren's mug from Latvia. It's got this, I just love the bottle as well. It's got that cool kind of European vibe to it. But it reminds me of her family and Christmas time and things like that. So I was just like, hey, we had a couple days off from work that we weren't expecting, so we closed up for a little bit. Today we were there though, and I was like, oh, this would be a great drink to have. Put on the flannel, battle out the cold, and let's go hit some new releases. First one up is a new Metallica release, but it's not what you would expect from them. This is Acoustic. So they did a double LP, a live acoustic album. But what's really cool, my props to them, all of the proceeds from this album and from the concert are going to allwithinmyhands.org. That is like a charitable foundation that they started, and it goes back to charities and stuff that their fans are involved in. So it could be for a local food pantry. There's like a student workforce, like educating students and people on workforce, stuff like that. So definitely recommend this album. It's got a cool vibe. They also did a limited blue record. So how do you guys feel about colored vinyl and special edition? Is that a big factor for you when you're purchasing records? Do you not care about it? Do you want black records? Or if there's a color version, are you going to pay extra or wait out for that one? So they did this one on limited thing. Of course, the sticker lets you know that it's on blue marbled vinyl. I'm not a huge fan of some of the songs on here. It's pretty cool to hear them doing some acoustic sets. But what's interesting is they actually do some covers of like some Blue Oyster Cult, Nazareth, Bob Seger. Some of those covers I actually really like. Their original songs, I prefer their regular versions of it, but it's cool to hear it being done. What's cool though is it's not just acoustic. It's not just like a guitar and James Hetfield doing vocals. They have a full ensemble. So there's mandolin, there's 3 guitars, bass players. It's not a quiet acoustic album, that's for sure. So if you're expecting something really mellow, it's mellow compared to Metallica's usual stuff. But it's cool that they did that. So that's coming out tomorrow. Next one is Anderson .Paak's new album, Oxnard. This guy is cool. I don't know if you guys have listened to him. If you're into hip-hop, you're definitely going to want to check it out. But it's not just a straight-up hip-hop album. It's got the vibes and stuff of some of the newer hip-hop artists like Kendrick Lamar, stuff like that. But there's more instrumentation, more drums, more funk, and more soul. What's really odd is listening to this album, I actually kind of found myself almost hearing like a Jamiroquai vibe to it, which I wasn't expecting, but it's pretty cool. I definitely was digging that. So yeah. This one is a newer artist, Les Butcherettes. I don't know if you guys have heard of them yet. Have you checked them out? I don't know where you find your new music at. Are you checking things out on Spotify or checking things out at your local record store? I'd be really curious to know where you're at, or checking things on Pitchfork, or maybe you're watching our Vinyl Happy Hour. So if you are watching our Vinyl Happy Hour, we would like to know. So please leave us some comments. If you're watching these live, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, let us know you're watching these. If you're going back and seeing a repeat of it later on, just drop us a comment. Just type in the letter R so we know you're seeing the repeats after we do the live episode. This one is one you'll be hearing us play a lot in the store. Play Butcherettes by Mental. This is a band, again, their sound is going to be a little bit up front, like Yeah Yeah Yeahs or something like that. The vocalist has really strong vocals, playing guitar and stuff too. But their kind of alternative rock scene kind of gives me almost like an older sound, like Jane's Addiction or something like that. But yeah, it's a cool newer band to check out for sure. I think it's their third or fourth album already. What's funny is this next album has been on my kind of to acquire list for a long time. Actually, I'm not into LSD or drugs or anything like that, but for some reason, I love all these weird psychedelic artists and things like that. And I love the stories of Dr. Timothy Leary, PhD, Harvard psychologist in the 60s, was doing these experiments and things with LSD and acid, and he was leading a whole revival. He was speaking about it and consulting with politicians, but he picked up this whole underground culture that just flocked to him, and he talked about the deeper mind expansions and things that were happening with LSD, and he was taking LSD himself and talking about his trips and experiences. It's just a really cool time in the 60s. A whole new revolution of music came out of it, and a whole new culture. But this is from a soundtrack from the movie is called, what is it? I hear it all the time. Tune in, turn on, drop out, People talked about it like that. This was a very controversial film, and he was a very controversial person. The music is really weird on this. There's some really kind of like this transcendental, Indian kind of Middle Eastern vibe to it, and it's got a lot of just weird psychedelic sounds and echoey music, and a lot of talking and dialogue. But what else is really cool is they just put out a limited version of this, only 400 copies. It's on black and white splatter. So it's definitely worth checking out just for the controversy that started. Nixon, of course, famously called him the most dangerous man in America. He was arrested dozens of times and jailed, and then, of course, LSD became illegal and stuff like that. But people from the Doors and the Grateful Dead were huge, connoisseurs of his message to all the underground psychedelic artists and poets and beat poets, and both coasts of the country were just kind of obsessed with it. But the whole story behind it all is just such a cool story to me, and I just appreciate what it did for the music culture and art culture especially. So it's cool to see that the record label has done a reissue of this. Originals are quite rare. It's probably because lots of Christians and anti-drug parents and stuff like that smashed and burned all the original copies or something, I'm sure. Or people who are really into drugs just lost their albums or something. But this is a cool one too. This is a used record from the store at Culture Shock. This is a British band called the Groundhogs. Packaging on this album is really cool. This is, I think, a really late 60s piece. I'm sure they were doing some acid too. These are English guys, but it's kind of a blues rock record, but it folds out like a triple gatefold. And it's got, it's only a 3-piece band too. They're very kind of heavy blues rock, kind of like Cream, some stuff like that. But I love how it folds out. It's got each member and the years they were born and a little lip to hold the record. It's a pretty rare record. It's tough to come by, but I'm always looking for stuff like that. It's got a great sound. That's the Groundhogs. Definitely worth checking out. This is another new release. We'll go over real quick, just Beruit. I've been really into these guys for a long time. Have you heard of them ever? I don't know if you have, but they do have a new album out. It's got a cool little sticker on the back. It even tells you that it's got 12 tracks at 44 minutes and so seconds. I think I realized after listening to this album why I like them so much. The vocalist reminds me of Morrissey in the weirdest way from the Smiths. I never really thought about that before. But the music of the band is so far out and so different. It has all these horns and trumpets and drums and a lot of kind of a Middle Eastern European feel to it. A lot of things that you would hear in a more Spanish sound or, I don't know, French, something like that. It just doesn't sound like your typical American indie rock band. There's something really interesting about it, and I've always really liked them. So, let's get some Glugg going. I've got some Holy Grail now. The Holy Grail tonight, I forgot to tell you at the top of this thing, my Holy Grail is not going to be a record though, which is weird because it's Vinyl Happy Hour. But I do have this to show you, my Beatles collection. This is the Beatles box set that came out. It's got their entire studio works. I also have the Japanese version of it. I'm probably not going to hang on to both of them. I need to do an A and B test comparison, see which one sounds better, if there even is a difference, and then keep the one. But my real Holy Grail is actually something I've never seen before. It's the Beatles collection cassette box set. And it's in this just like the original vinyl box set, it's in this textured kind of leather box. And it flips open on the top just like the records, but it houses all of their cassettes, all 13 studio albums. I just thought that was so cool. And right now we've been talking about the Beatles again. They get talked about a lot, but they just had the 50th anniversary of their final show that they played on the rooftop of Abbey Studios or something like that. So they've been in the news a lot again because it's the 50th anniversary of Sgt. Pepper's and Magical Mystery Tour and things like that. And this many years later, they're still influencing bands, tons of bands. So their earlier pop stuff has influenced tons of other rock bands. And then the latter half of their kind of more drug-induced era was more of their kind of psychedelic sound, stuff like that. So they've influenced a big influx of bands, caused a lot of people to want to pick up a guitar, start a band. So it's cool to them that they're still a thing, but I do collect cassettes. I don't know, is anyone else into cassettes? I mean, I've seen there's a small revival of them. We have new cassettes from new artists. They're reissuing stuff like Prince and Nirvana and Queen even on cassette. So yeah, what's up? I want to know who listens to cassettes, who checks out the cassette selection in our store. Do you want us to get more? Is that something you want to see more of? Because we'll definitely get some more. I know I'm going to be adding a lot more cassettes here to the store this spring too. So anyway, like I said, episode 24 every Thursday night. Please check out our Vinyl Happy Hour. We will be putting up our recent episodes on YouTube also. If you've been missing out on them, you can find Culture Shock Vinyl Happy Hour on there as well. I hope you guys are staying warm through this polar vortex we've had. It's been a lot of fun staying inside for a couple days and playing some records and not getting up off the couch much. So enjoy your record collection and come and check us out and see what we've got in the store. We will see you soon. Thank you. Cheers.